What makes the Belarusian flag different from any other flag? Well, I could say this rather ornate pattern on the hoist, but then Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan also have a rather elaborate hoist too. Okay, apart from those two stand flags, what is this rather intriguing pattern on the flag of Belarus? Where does it come from and why is it here? All will be revealed as we explore the evolution of the flag of, well, Belarus, I guess. The current flag is outlined in Presidential Decree number 214, which was released on the 7th of June 1995. It describes the flag as having two horizontal stripes, the upper red covering 2/3, which stands for freedom and sacrifice, and the lower green for life. However, the interesting element of this flag is the rather ornate design on the hoist side, otherwise known as a ruknik, a traditional and ritual cloth, which has been used in Eastern Slavic rituals such as weddings and funerals. The diamond shape in the pattern is an ancient agricultural symbol, which means a sown field or the sun, as well as an expression of fertility and protection of evil. Red was also used because the word red means beautiful and splendid in Old Russian and Lithuanian. This design was described by the originator, President Alexander Lukashenko, although he based his design on a previous Soviet design by Mikhail Hussev. Not a great deal of difference here, except the Soviet hammer and sickle emblem with the star and the ruknik have inverted colours. Out of interest, this ruknik design was created by Matrona Makovich in 1917. She has a rather unfortunate story because her husband was killed 20 years after by the Soviets and buried in an unmarked grave. His family finally found the location of his grave in 1986. However, we're jumping as the current flag did not directly follow on from the Soviet-style flag. To understand how all these flags link together, we must go back to the very beginning because it's a very good place to start. So, Julie Andrews tells me anyway. It's the 16th century, and what is today's Belarus was then part of the Kingdom of Poland and the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Rolls off the tongue quite nicely, that one. It was a bi-confederal state, whatever that truly means, and was simplified to just Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Anyway, flags. This ridiculously busy banner amalgamated symbols and colours from both sides, with Poland's white eagle from the national coat of arms to Lithuanian's Purser, an armoured knight on horseback, along with various crowns of royalty and shields in shields. It's all very complicated and ornate, and quite frankly absurd that anyone on the battlefield from afar would actually know what this is all about. That said, what follows is the complete opposite, and more to my liking of course. In 1858 we enter the period of the Great Russian Empire, who for the next 38 years used this distinct tricolour based on the heraldic colours and introduced by Tsar Alexander II, but was soon replaced by an oddly familiar Pan-Slavic version in 1896, which was introduced by Peter the Great, but that story is covered in the link above. That lasted until towards the end of the Great War, otherwise known as World War I, where the German Empire, otherwise known as the Second Reich, keep up, took control and hoisted their national flag. However, as we know, Germany didn't win that war, and so the Belarusian Democratic Republic was born, and with it this white-red-white design following the end of the war. This flag was believed to have been designed by Klaudsy Dostoyevsky before 1917. The colours were, as we've already seen, used in the early Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Let's see how these things are recycled. That said, Belarus then soon fell to the might of the Second Polish Republic in the west and the Soviet Union in the east. And with that, those in power went into exile and used both their original flag as well as introducing a black fimbriation to the central red band, some to think to symbolise mourning. In 1918, and for 1 year only, the now renamed Lithuanian Belarusian SSR, sometimes referred to as the Socialist Soviet Republic of Lithuania and White Russia, used this imaginative red plain flag. Meanwhile, in the west of the country, their flag was the Second Polish Republic flag, based on the Royal Arms colours, which were adopted as the national colours of Poland in 1831. Continuing the breakup of what is Belarus today, the Socialist Soviet Republic of Belarus kicks things off with this undeniably unique flag, which of course is very different shade of red to the Lithuanian Belarusian SSR flag. You still with me? However, this only lasted a month until it was replaced by the Belarusian SSR, which introduced the more commonly used hammer and sickle for the first time in the area. But it's this next flag I want to talk about, because in 1943 a puppet administration under the Belarusian Central Council was put in place as part of the German occupation during the Second World War. For this period, the white-red-white flag was reintroduced, utilising the old Belarusian Democratic Republic of 1919. But that was short-lived because, as we know, again, Germany also lost this Second World War. As the Soviet Union was on the Allied side and helped win the war, they retook the country and reintroduced the Belarusian SSR with a simple design minus the hammer and sickle this time. 1915, and the familiarity is unveiled on Christmas Day with this design for the country. The red for the revolution and green for the Belarusian forests, the hammer for the workers, sickle for the peasants, which, according to Soviet ideology, means that when these two are crossed together, they symbolise cooperation between the two classes. The red star used for the Communist Party, and why a five-pointed star? Well, that's to cater for the 5 social groups: workers, youth, peasants, military and academics. And lastly, as we've already mentioned, the ruknik from the various patterns. The reverse of this flag would seldom have the hammer and sickle and star. But by 1991, the Soviet Union was no more, and Belarus became its own independent country yet again. And they decided to, yet again, reintroduce the white-red-white flag of Belarusian Democratic Republic, which had been used by the striking workers in the last days of the Soviet era. 1995 saw a referendum asking 4 questions, one of which was regarding a new flag and coat of arms. 78% of the voters agreed to the idea of a new flag, and new President Alexander Lukashenko basically reintroduced the old Soviet flag, but this time minus the hammer and sickle and an inverted colours of the ruknik, red and white to white and red instead. And it was this that was finally to become the national flag of the Republic of Belarus. However, the story doesn't end there, because during this flag's lifetime, the white-red-white flag made an opposition comeback, a symbol against President Lukashenko and his administration. And to understand this better, let me hand you over to fellow YouTuber Fredo Rockwell to let you know about his video regarding this very topic.
Thanks, Mr. P. Belarus has used this flag twice before in its history. Is it about to raise it a 3rd time? Find out in my video, Democracy in Belarus, the 5-minute guide.
Thanks, Fredo, and not only can you find out about what happens next in Belarus's story from Fredo, link in the description below. If you click here, however, you'll discover more about this white-red-white flag and how it was the inspiration of a Russian opposition flag which became popular in 2022 at the inception of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Be seeing you